So thanks for those that joined. Just obviously we'll cover as much as we can in cost management. We'll discuss, I guess, system configuration, permissions, budgets, head contracts, subcontracts, progress claims, and also raising variations requests from within the platform itself from other products as well. So I'll just do a quick PowerPoint presentation. I'll go through this real briefly because I want to jump straight into the product. But thanks for everyone joining today on the cost management webinar. That's obviously organized by the Archons team and myself. So if we go to the next slide here, just a quick introduction. My name is Pablo. I'm the partner consulting manager here in Autodesk. Joined in 2022. I've been here for just over 2 years now. I look after a majority of the product except for the design products, so mainly specialized in construction space. I cover Australia and New Zealand, and I work closely with the Archons team. So if you do have any follow-up meetings or conversations in the future, maybe in those conversations moving forward. All right, so just briefly, this is, I guess, Autodesk Construction Cloud in a nutshell of all their workflows that are capable to capture within the product and the platform itself. But today we're going to be mainly focusing on the cost management portion, which is obviously part of the construction operations, which will touch base on document control, document approvals, or pretty much documents in the CDE space, so docs environment, as well as going through permissions and also project setting up project information within the project. Just a brief one as well, just going to share this real quick, but obviously our cost management tool does seamlessly integrate with your ERP tools. So whatever I show you today, it can be communicated across to your ERP tools like your SAPs, your MYBs, your Zeros, Oracles. If you have any questions regarding this, obviously, please feel free to reach out to our team as well. Where did my mouse go? Sorry. And obviously, the integration you can see here, obviously for the internal and external integrations, we obviously integrate with the likes of DocuSign if you want contracts signed as well for things like variations, contracts, report information on Power BI, and obviously synchronize information to your schedule to get your forecasting as well. And just beyond this as well, we have a lot of products available in our integration space, and this is obviously we're obviously mainly focusing on the cost portion today, but you can see here Autodesk does openly integrate with over 245 partners with direct integrations via APIs. Okay. If you want to learn additional information, cost management learnings, we do have our learnacc.autodesk.com portal, which has on-demand information, webinars, training videos, workflow guides that will cover things in a lot more detail and a lot more slower pace than today. Okay, I'm going to jump straight into the product. So let me first welcome you to the platform. I'm just going to do a bit of housekeeping. I'm in ACC. We're going to be focusing mainly in cost management, but when you log in, you do have a list of products that you can choose from. The subscription that you get with Build will come with cost management docs and the Insights tool. On the top right here, if you want to learn or get some help, we do have some awesome help articles that can cover information in our cost tool. If you wish to learn more, we do have information regarding budget code setup, work with the budgets. These are obviously American terms, so I'm going to just flick between two terminologies from American and Aussie terms. Change orders in the US are variations, and obviously we'll cover any other terms that might be a little bit slightly different to what we have here in the Australian market. Okay, so in here, we're going to start off in the cost management tool. Now, obviously, we are in Build. We'll come back to the Build tool to discuss how information from the construction team can be submitted to the contracts team or the admin team to raise variations and link them across to variations to certain subcontractors. Okay. This project I have set up here, I've modified it for today's webinar. It can be modified to your liking, which I'll go through briefly as well. I won't go through every single step-by-step configuration that we've gone through. But as you can see, when we open up cost management, I am logged in as an administrator, so I do have access to the complete platform. I'm able to configure all the information within this platform as well. Everything that you see on this left-hand panel is configurable, which I've gone in and actually updated it. So you can see here I've got budget upstream, cost downstream, just to show you that our cost management does have communication up and downstream. And we also have a variations tab, which usually it's called change orders, but we have them listed as variations in this platform because of the modification. So just going to go quickly into the settings. As you can see here, we do have the ability to come into the platform and you can modify if you want to say that you're the owner or you're a contractor in this project. And either one of these options will determine what items you will see on this left-hand panel if you want to turn it on. So if you're the owner, you probably would not have a head contract, right? So if you're the owner with the platform, with the system as well, there's no one above you. You can have the upstream process turned off. Obviously, you can have each of these ones configured either way. So if you choose contractor or owner, you are more than free to come in and modify if you want certain tabs turned on. So as example, as an owner, I can turn on head contract. We have the downstream payment options turned on, which you can turn off as well, same as upstream, downstream variations. So all of this information can be configured to your liking to enable your product to suit your needs. We do have the ability for you to obviously select metric for Australia. For Australian purposes' sake, we can obviously add different units and measurements as well if you need to. Set up who the owner, the head contractor, who the architects are on the project, making sure you got the right currency turned on. You can also determine your budget and subcontract allocations. You can have multiple budgets to one subcontract, or you can just limit one budget to more than one subcontractor if you wanted to as well, or one budget to one subcontract. There's some rounding settings which you can cover if you want to have materials and payment applications to be as stored as billed. Retention, which you can set up as default and then can be modified as you move forward. You can add tax, as in like GST, into the platform. You can add multiple. The great benefit of our tool as well, if you do end up creating contracts, we do have the ability for those individual suppliers to have their own folder in the documents tool for them to view those documentation for future purposes and to obviously collaborate and provide any documentation, which I'll show you shortly as well. Work schedule. This one's the most important one. On this here, the original, everything on this left-hand panel is what is configured originally in the platform. What we can see here, we can customize the tool to describe what you work with. So I just changed it based on some previous implementations that have joined and conducted in the past. You can see main contract, I've changed it to head contract. Budget, I'll put budget upstream, and you can see that this here has changed and reflected there. And that goes also with the likes of potential variations, which were potential change orders in the platform and so forth. Okay. Now, I'm going to go through this real quickly, but this is quite important as well. Every single project will have a budget code format. This can follow this project. I'm following the CSI format, but you can follow OmniClass, NatSpec, master format, OmniClass. But again, there is some additional information which you can get help on how to watch a step-by-step on how to make sure your budget code is set up. So here we can have obviously your project code. It's just for information purposes only. Then you have subjobs. I have CSI in here, which obviously has a breakdown structure of every single, I guess, discipline. You can see here from concrete, I got maintenance and concrete, schedule, concrete commissioning, concrete forming, etc. And then you also have sequencing numbers that you can add, and cost types can be added here as well. Okay, this can be imported as well. Once it's been in use, you cannot modify, delete this. So in the future, if you are working on a cost management project, it will lock as it is once the budgets and the systems in use. Okay. I won't cover this too much, but every single upstream, obviously this is for upstream budget. So progress claims upstream. So if I was the head contractor sending a claim to the owner, you can have workflows in the platform and you can collaborate with all parties in the platform as well. And there are some templates, and this is awesome because if you have a standardized template documentation that you send out, whether it's in Excel format or Word, you can have them populate into here, which will have these smart fields, which will pull in values, contact information, company information to create your contracts and also your claims as well. So that is also available for your subcontractors' approval workflows for the contracts to get approved and the subcontractor progress claims as well. Okay. Also expense and compliance requirements, document templates live here. Each tab will have their own approval workflows as well, which can be set up. Okay. And a lot more can be set up from the types of variations that you can accept. Okay. Markup formulas, if you want to add any markup formulas. So this platform has a plethora of configuration available to you at your fingertips to suit your requirements for any use case scenarios for your business. Okay. And also the forecasting tool, which you can modify, but it's in use, so I can't change it because it's already been created. And the benefits of our platform is the permission control. Okay. So right now I'm an administrator. I do have archons who I have as most likely the owners of the platform. I'm an administrator, but you can see here the construction manager has limited visibility for the budget. So you can see they can view, but they cannot fully control it. And I've got subcontractors who can't see the budget. Obviously, that wouldn't be recommended, but our subcontractors in the platform don't have access to anything other than to be able to collaborate with their contracts, progress claims, and for quotations as well for RFQs, and the likes of obviously the variations as well. Mind you that you don't have to use these permission settings here. You can always go custom, select a role, a user, a company that you want to add to the platform and give them the certain permissions. And also another thing that's great is our cost management tool tracks everything. Every little bit of money that moves, every little bit of contracts that get approved, gets reviewed, anything that gets touched in the platform is saved and recorded as part of our activity in the history book tool. Okay. Right, so I'm going to jump into budget. Okay, so I already have a budget uploaded into the platform, but every single budget in cost management, if I were to edit, I can look at importing this budget into the platform. Okay, we do have ability for, obviously this one is locked. So I've locked the budget so that way we don't have people messing around, and you're more than welcome to obviously lock the budget once you've confirmed and obviously don't want the information to change. You want to obviously keep the data integrity intact. But we do have an import function. This import function is really friendly because our templates that you do download will provide you a nice little guide on how you can import your budgets as well. So just show you briefly, I won't import a budget from scratch, but we also have example templates for there's no hierarchy in place, 3 levels, budget single level example with obviously some notes and information that you can read. Okay. Mind you, a platform has a lot of help guides and help data and documentation for you to actually perform any imports and updates yourself. Okay. So I'm going to cancel this. I won't update the budget and I'll just exit the edit mode. Okay. So once the budget's put in here, you can see that we have the budgets imported, linked to a budget code, and each of these budget line items can be opened and flied out to see if it's linked to any items. You can put a description against it. You can obviously say if it's budget only, budget and cost, change the name once it's imported. And you can see that the code details have a sequence here of what the code's been used for what I've set up in the settings and administrator page. And if this budget line item is linked to a supplier, for example, let's go to this one here. This budget line item is linked to a supplier and most likely a subcontract for Pablo's Concreting. And the contact person's name is first name Pabs, last name Concrete. So again, these users will be in the platform. They will have a limited view and access onto the platform, but they can have collaboration in the tool for them to submit their claims, sign contracts. Obviously, if RFIs turn into variations, they can obviously get that all referenced and linked within the platform, which I'll cover in just a moment as well. And everything in here can be modified if you wanted to edit it. We do have the ability to also snapshot the budget. So once the budget is uploaded and locked, you do have this new function that only came out just recently, but we are able to actually create a snapshot of the budget. I already have one created today. I'll make some changes moving forward in this webinar, and then I'll create another snapshot, and then we can actually compare the different versions in the tool as well. These can be scheduled as well. So if we click on this view settings, it will take us to the admin tool for us to edit the schedule. And I could say here that every Sunday, every week at 3 p.m., it will save a snapshot. So that way, come that week, I can at least know what my budget was once the previous week has been finished. Okay. So that's the budget. Each of these budget items as well, if I were to edit them, I have the ability to come in here and actually create contracts with these budget items. So if I know who is performing the metalworks in this particular project, I can select all the budget line items related to metals or metalworking altogether. And I can actually allocate it to a subcontract, and I can allocate it to an existing one if there's one in place, or I can create a new one. If I were to create a new one, it would just come up and it'll give me a few different options. So I can create a subcontract from each selected budget or all the selected budget items. Okay. You can see I can give it a subcontractor code and the subcontractor name here as well. So I can obviously populate this information. Okay. So you do have a few different flexible options. These fields that do come up with the little box around with the little dashes, most of these options will allow you to edit the information that's in there. Okay. So for example, if I go ahead and create this as a metalworks contract for now, oh, I should have known glazing. Right. It will end up coming up to this cost tool down here, which is your downstream. All your subcontracts will live in this portal here. And come back here. And at the same time, we're able to do that as well. Select all the budget line items. And if we select all of them, we can actually create a head contractor schedule value. At the moment, I already performed the head contract and gone ahead and created it. And you can see here, it's pushed it all across here as part of the head contract. Okay. Now the head contract as well has a few different fields I can edit. So I can freely come into this tool and edit and say if it's signed, review, executed. I can also say if it's a unit price, cost plus, or a fixed price. Okay. You do get little information buttons. If you do select something, it tells you obviously this one says the markup items value will spread over the normal cost items in approved variations. So obviously our platform does try its best to give you as much information as possible. This particular contract as well can be changed. This is one head contract. You can have multiple head contracts in the one project if you needed to, and you can have your budget code structure set up to cater for multiple head contracts. Okay. Just going to exit that for now. Another thing as well is this particular contract here. I have the information of who the owner is, who the architect is, and I can add any additional collaborators, which is quite new as well to add to this particular contract. And you can see here there's some variations in this head contract that has already been approved, and I'll go through how variations can be looked at. There is tax that has been applied. I can obviously delete this or add tax. So if you don't work, if you do everything and everything's inclusive of GST or excluded, you can obviously determine if you want to apply or not apply tax within the project as well. Now, the great thing is our tool does have the ability to generate main contracts and or your head contracts and your subcontractors using a document template. And that's what I covered just briefly in the settings, but we do have a whole user guide in our help portal on how you can create and pretty much push your current templates or your current procurement documentation, your variation templates, your contracts into the platform and have it populate with information automatically, just generating based on the information that's been captured in the platform. So if I open up this document template, you can see it's already opening up in the files tool, and you can see here it says files in the platform here because it's actually saved a copy in the documents tool. And if I open it up, it's actually going to populate information of who the owner is, the contract number, all that information, as well as individual line items that have been pushed through. And if we scroll down, we can also see all that information with things like tax, so if we can add tax if we wanted to. This can be modified. Obviously, this is just a sample. You can go in and use this sample. So you're more than happy to obviously download this document, update your logos, and just do a rip and replace and use what we have here, or bring in your documentation over. We do accept Word docs and Excel documentation as well. Okay, and you can see here, because it took me to the files tool, everything to do with pretty much cost management ends up flying into the cost tool. So if we go into this cost management document, you can see here, everything is created as a subfolder. If I go to head contract and I got head contract one, here's the document that I just viewed. And it will version up. Any other contracts will be supplied here. And that also goes for all my subcontracts as well. So all my subcontractors in the platform will get their own portal. Each of these folders does have permission control, and you can actually see that it's already included. I didn't do this, but the system did it for me because it inherited from the cost tool. Okay. And it actually provided it into this project automatically. And these are all the documents that are related to this subcontract. And it can go from subcontracts to variations as well, and to the claims, to progress claims, also to variations as well, variation requests. So all that documentation will be automatically stored in your document tool. So you won't need to pretty much download and upload information back into the platform. So let me go back to head contract. So this one said has been signed. Mind you, this here, all this information can be either expanded or collapsed. We also have the ability to look at obviously viewing everything as a column or line items. We can hide sub items. We can export this and share this with people. And there's already a claim that's already been paid here. So if you look here, this period, we have work completed 10%. So you can see here, we do have an ability for us to track what's being paid in this period. And this is obviously from the first payment application of the platform. And we'll go through and create a second one as well, just to show you how that information is tracked. But all this information is all logged on screen. All the information in detail is obviously trackable and linked. So if I click on this lighting fixture, which falls under variation, I can see that there's the owner variation. If I open that, it will actually take me to that variation and all the information within inside it as well. And you can see here, this obviously links back to another area within the platform, which is an RFI as well. Okay. And all the historical information against this single activity is also logged within the platform. Okay. Now, not everyone you would usually operate in a budget screen like this. Everyone would have obviously been on a cost platform. You may want to have something that's familiar with what you were using on your Excel or any other cost platforms. But we do have the option to come in and actually filter by items or group items. So if I wanted to, I can actually group items by subjobs or CSI, or this is CSI code, which are the disciplines. And you can see here that it actually does a nice way of grouping all that information within the platform. So I can either expand or collapse all of them and view them in a lot more detail. All these columns here have pretty much formulas already applied to it. So if you're wondering why there's values in certain columns, it's just a matter of viewing this particular column here, and it will tell you how that particular item is captured, that value. And you can see here, for example, projected budget is revised budget plus spending variation. Our platform also does allow you to create your own custom columns if you wanted to add your own calculations within the tool as well. And you can even look at modifying and arranging the look of your budgets as well by turning on and turning off some fields, or using this slider tool to slide certain tools or sort of columns above the view here on the page. Okay. Now we've jumped into cost. We can have, let me just ungroup this. But you can see here, we have a supplier, a subcontractor. We've got 3 contracts that are in draft and pending supply input. And you can see here, we also have a electrical subcontractor who's had their contract executed. And the great thing about it as well, you can see that the variation for $200,000 has been approved. And that information also is showing up in the budget upstream for your owner, and also the downstream showing the approved change orders as well. And the actual costs, all the information, the forecasting is displayed here. And I'll explain how we can actually get that information on screen. Now, with the electrical contractor, we do have the ability to actually, we'll go and do this one here. So this particular line item, I've linked to a contract. And right now I've added this particular RC frame and concrete substructure line item to this supplier called Pablo's Concreting, which I've selected here, and it's brought one contact here. We can add multiple contacts, or we can load members from the member library, and only administrators are able to actually perform that information upload in the platform, because they need to add users within the platform as well. Okay, so we can add additional contacts. We can give this contract a name, put a description. You can see it's linking it back up to this head contract, so that way any variations that go downstream can also be pushed upstream as well. You can put a description of what the scope of works involved. We do have some formatting available to you as well. And you can see here, this item is associated to this budget item here. If I were to click it, it will take me straight to the budget tool where that item resides. Let me just go back again. And you can see here, the schedule values is unlocked, but I'm able to come into here and actually modify the unit. Oh, this is cubic yards. Yuck. Sorry, it's in the US format. So if I wanted to, I could do cubic meters, make sure that's all cubic meters. And I could also add additional items if I wanted to add sub items, move up and down, or delete some items as well. That will kind of build out this particular contract. The benefits of doing this is that your subcontractors can actually build these individual line items as well. And that will make it easier for them to submit claims on work that they completed on individual items if needed. Okay. A tax can be applied. And at the same time, we have this awesome option for us to generate a document contract for this one here. So I can go ahead and click that, and it would generate, based on the template that I have as a sample, this information will get pushed into a document template. And this will also then push into the cost tool or the files docs tool as well. So if I wanted to, I can actually view this subcontract contract document automatically in the files tool as well. And we do have other fields that can be populated, references to other areas of the tool. So you can reference things like issues for defects, RFIs, schedule activities, even items on the sheets that have occurred as well, any correspondence in the platform. Okay. You can see here, a lot of this information can be populated. It's not mandatory, but you can put when the contract was awarded, when it was sent, when it got returned, when you require them on site, the procurement, the dates that executed, and so forth as well. You can see here, I got retention as 5% based on my settings. You're more than happy to actually provide pretty much a percentage default in the settings, but you're more than welcome to replace this in the tool here. Okay. And we can also manage their billing cycle as well, which I'll go through in a second, but we can put a billing period, a master schedule for the billing period. I've already created one. And you can see I've created one that goes from the 1st of October all the way down to the 30th of Jan. And we put a due date that the payment applications are due 21 days after the start date, so after the 1st. And it obviously gives you an example here as well. So I can save that to make sure that that's pushed across there so that we can expect them to submit a claim. And I'll go through an example as well. We do have this awesome function as well in most of our tools where we can do the @ symbol like you can social media, and actually request a comment and talk to and communicate to your collaborators within the platform as well if needed. Okay. So delete that there. So this particular one, I'm going to actually go through the notion of getting this submitted for supply input. I do have a separate window open where I'm going to pretend to be the concreting company and show you what they see as well from a platform perspective. Okay. So I'm going to hit and say request supply input. We do have the ability for us to use this subject to replace it. We can CC people in the platform if needed. You can also CC myself if I want to get obviously notified via email when this comes out. This message can be configured to be automated with a message that's kind of default in the platform, but you can obviously change it ad hoc if you needed to. And we have a document as well that's been added as well. So if I'm going to hit send, now it's gone to my concrete subcontractor pending his input. Okay. If I load the window here, this is the wrong one. So here we go. Pretty sure this is the one. If I go to cost management, okay, and you can see here I'm logged in as a subcontractor. That's the person that's logged in. And at the moment, I got my home, which I can see is pretty blank compared to what I saw as an administrator. And the cost tool, oh, it looks like it's the wrong subcontractor. Let me actually let me just change this real quick. Oop, let me, think it was electrical easy. Let me do electrical because I already have. I know RC frame isn't really electrical, but I'm gonna end up doing this real quick. So let me just generate this document template, and I'm gonna request supply input. Do what I did before. Some contracts have been just waiting for this to generate. There we go. I got too many accounts that are logged in. So let me see if this one is, yeah, this is the one. So I'm going to go to cost. So here I got a pretty much a contract called RC frame with that code set to this supplier, and I've requested their input. So the benefit of a subcontractor, they can come into here, they can actually manage their contracts within the platform. As you can see here, RC frame has appeared within this portal for them, and it's pending their input. So if I open this up as a subcontractor, I can come into here and I can see all the information. I can see the breakdown structure as well, which I can then provide additional information. There's a document that's been obviously captured within here, and all the information here, I can't edit it as a subcontractor. That's because the administrator of the platforms will push that information in for the subcontractors to see. So now I'm going to go ahead and respond and pretty much detail my scope of work, which I can as a subcontractor. And I do have the ability to do some breakdown of what my line items are for this particular contract. So I have the ability to add sub items, but what's great is you can download a template and import these schedule values to have a even larger breakdown structure of what you're going to build, what the subcontractor wants to be claiming for. Okay. And they also have the ability to upload or attach from Autodesk docs any supplying information or documentation if they needed to. So if they do press this and upload a document, they can go ahead and upload a PDF from their file. So I can go ahead and go to my downloads and most likely provide a example as a CSV file or Excel file, Word document, PDF, whatever it needs to be attached can be attached. And I'm going to go ahead and submit it. So when I submit it, now it's waiting review. Okay. Now these workflows are all determined in the back end of the system, which you can modify. It could be 1, 2-step, 3-step group approvers. You can even have certain contracts that reach over a certain threshold and value be approved by a different group of people as well. And you can create multiple workflows. So they can obviously be multiple workflows with different conditions if needed. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page real quick. And this is me back again in my account as a project administrator. So I can see here, this RC frame has been submitted. Emails are generated and sent through in the platform. So just to I'll slide across an email, notifications are sent, and you can see here, this particular subcontractor responded to this subcontract, and I can actually open it or reply via email if I need to as well. Okay. If I click on this RC frame, I can see here, I can request revision. I can see what they've submitted if they had any provided any breakdown of it. And I can say, okay, it's been submitted. Let's send it away to get reviewed. And these are the reviewers. Okay. So now as administrator, I can come in and say, hey, the subcontractor gave me this. Can you just let me know if this information is correct? Send the email through, and it's preparing that email to be sent off for those reviewers. And those reviewers are all determined in the back end of the configuration of the platform, which you're welcome to update. If I go ahead and press review, this is what I see as a reviewer. I can access the breakdown structure that's provided. I don't have the ability to import, but I can export that information if I wanted to view it in an Excel file. If they're comfortable viewing Excel, I can choose to group if I needed to group, if there's a lot of information that was captured. And if I'm happy, I can actually come into here and say either revise it, so I can send it back to supplier, draft status for them to modify, or I can say proceed and send that through. So if I send that through as a subcontract to the subcontractor to say it's been approved, I can say, subcontract requires your input response. This is just to supplier. You can edit this subject, and you can tell them, okay, review everything and sign it back. So I can get that information prepared, sent off to them, and all that is tracked in the history as well. So I've got the attachments that they provided, the subcontractor, who is uploaded by when, all the documentation and history of that activity is all logged here on the flyout window as well, from the subcontractor's involvement to my involvement as well. And it's all timestamped locally. So I'm going to go back into here, and I have the ability to either, obviously, when I come fresh into the platform, as an administrator, I can view all the contracts, all the statuses of the contracts. I guess once the project's in play, everything should either be set as executed. But I can come into here and say, yep, I'm happy with that. Set it as executed. They've signed a contract. I've attached the documentation supplying that information. And then I can either set it as closed or leave it as executed in the platform as well. Okay. So once that's done, this subcontractor can now submit claims as they progress and do work as well. This subcontractor already submitted claims, and there's a variation attached to the contract here. But if I jump into that window previously as well, if I see that it's changed already as executed. So as a subcontractor, I only have access to my contracts. I do not see the other supply contracts. I would never see that information because it's all permission controlled. Even with the tools and the information that I see in this tab, is completely downsized to just what's required for them to view. Okay. So now that's done, each of these subcontracts or contracts can be claimed against. Okay. So we have a claim that's already been paid, and that's the first payment application or progress claim. And we have another claim that's currently pending supply input. I can create a brand new claim. No, I didn't. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Let me set the billing period. I forgot to do it for this one here. So RC frame, the billing cycle is going to be inherited from the head contract. So mind you, these billing cycles can be pushed through or can be modified for each individual contractor if they claim at different dates or it's at a different project stage or whatnot. But the claims are following the master schedule that I've created here, which I've gone ahead and set it's from the 1st of October to the end of June and July. Okay, and you can modify if it's before, after the end date, and you can specify how many days. I can add new periods, I can modify a period, and I can even look at editing the dates for a period if there's obviously some public holidays or some months where we obviously are shut down or there's a forced shutdown for the project. Okay. So back to cost. That's all done now. So this subcontractor can come into here, create a new claim. So I can create a new payment application or progress claim. Come into this tool, and they can say that for this month, for this contract, they can come into here and specify individual line items to say that for the horizontal or actually, sorry, my mic's playing up today. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. So work complete, I can come in and actually put a dollar figure as a supplier, or I can come into here and specify percentage as well if I needed to. Another great thing, if you don't have a subcontractor who's tech savvy enough to play within the platform, you do have the ability to, let me just click on this fire window here. I can pretty much populate via an Excel. So if my subcontractor isn't too tech savvy and they are willing to submit information into the platform via email, they're more than welcome to, because we do have the option to export an Excel file. And I'll show you what this Excel file will look like. And it's pretty much outlining just exactly the information they need to fill in. So you can actually send this out as an what's the correspondence or notification out to them. And you will see that a screen will populate with, it says here, notice, please only edit the values of the yellow background cells. So they can actually come into here and specify the percentage of work completed here. So they can put 10% here, save this, review the documentation. And once they've saved it, they can come back into the platform and actually populate and import that file back into here. And that will populate the amount of work that's been completed. That's a great way in case, in the event that a particular subcontractor who may have you've probably working with for a long time, but they're not tech savvy and want to start slowly and introducing them to the platform, that would be a much more recommended method as well. If they are comfortable in using the platform, definitely getting them access to the platform is probably a lot more collaborative, because they can come into here and actually populate that information straight ahead, and the work completed amount will appear there. And then they can submit that to get approved. And you can see you can add a comment, and you can use the @mention like you can again, like in most social media platforms, to comment and say, please review, and submit that for them to review that information. So when the information is reviewed, you can see here, I'm going to email it to the reviewers and say, hey, can you please review the claim? It's preparing the email, and I myself as that reviewer or the administrator can actually do it as well. They will see that email come through, and that claim itself will have this review for the admin to review the claim. So they can come here and they can review, and they can see proceed, or you can obviously review for another reviewer. So this is obviously doing it if in the event that I'm reviewing for someone who's not here. I can, as an administrator, add some additional reviewers if I needed to. I can set them up in the platform. So all that can be pre-configured in the tool. And I can see the breakdown structure of the application, that the payment application or the progress claim that they're sending through, and if there's any variations in play as well. Okay. We don't have any variations, but we'll go through that in the last 5 to 10 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and proceed, put some comments if I need to, and I can say that that's been proceed. Now, because we don't have a integration set up on this project, this information, once we can go to proceed, you can send it away to your cost management platform. So your ERP solution can trigger an event that once it's paid there, that it can come back into the platform here and set it as paid. And that information will all be tracked as well of when that information came from the integrated platform in this field here. You can see when it was synced last, the message you received, any external IDs, that's all tracked in the platform. So you won't need to have someone who has access to the ERP tool to also have access to here. They can both be separate, and that information just can be communicated through the API integration as well. Okay, so that's all sent through. Another great thing as well, our progress claims can be pretty much templated as well. So as you saw, the contracts, the payment applications, or the progress claims will come up here as well. This can be all modified, but this will use a sample. If I open that up, again, it will open up in the docs tool in the files for that particular subcontractor. I'll just wait for that to load. And while it's loading, I'll come back here. And you can see here that there's obviously 2 paid claims here. Okay. You do have the option to batch create as well, or create an individual claim. You can see here, this one's pending supply input. So that means that this supplier, actually, let me just go through this real quickly. This is the Excel file. And you can see all that information of what they claimed as well, the detailed view for materials and what's been billed. So all that data can be modified and configured to your liking as well. So if you're not happy with Excel format, you can most likely just apply your own format. But each of these items here are all parameters in the platform that will automatically populate these values based on certain fields in the tool. I'm just going to close that for now. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that subcontractor here, internet claim. So right now, there's a claim here that's pending my input. I'm going to open it up and submit. Actually, let me make sure that I've remembered to put something in. No, I didn't. So you can see here from the previous application, it will say that I've done 15% or $1.2 million worth of work. For this period, I can come in and say that I've done, for this one here, 5% of the work, and that will automatically populate, or I can put a full round figure here if I needed to as well. And then I can also specify if there's any, obviously, um, yeah, materials in this application as well. Retention as well is all displayed here, and I can obviously look at submitting and modifying this if I wanted to. So the subcontractors do have a bit of freedom to modify information here, but this isn't the final verdict, because when I submit it, it's going to be sent for review. And you can see a variation is listed here, and that variation shows us that it wasn't there from the previous application, but it is here now. And maybe they want to get paid for it because they're ordering brand new lighting fixtures that have been discontinued. So they can say, we ordered it, but we need to put a 10% deposit. You need to give us 10, 20 grand for that amount. And you can see here that there's a remaining balance here, and the total work completed is listed there. I can come in, submit that for review. Or I can say submitted for review. They can tag someone if they needed to. And once it's submitted for review, go back to the previous window. No, let me just send the email first. You go back into here and refresh again as an administrator in the platform. There will be something for that particular admin to review, and they can see all the information. They can look at getting them to revise it or proceeding with it, or they can obviously put a reminder if they needed to. At the same time, they can obviously allow overbilling as well. That can be flagged on if needed, and you can see what they're claiming for the variations as well. So can go ahead and either choose proceed or get them to revise. But I'm just going to proceed just for the sake of this webinar, and then I can even set it as paid. So once I do that, that's all downstream. What's been obviously paid and recorded. All those values are then listed here for me to see and view and export. So if I open up this fly window here, this is obviously in detail of what's obviously been claimed, which can be exported if needed. If I open up this fly window here as well, I do have the ability to get the document template generated, which will then pull across the what's been previously paid, as well as the variations in play, if there was any variations that were added. I know that we're running a few minutes short, but our tool is awesome because we do have everything connecting from the construction site team down to the cost management platform. As you can see here, I'm in the build tool, which predominantly your subcontractors will be utilizing on site, most likely on their palm of their hand on the app. They can create an RFI and submit some RFI questions to users in the workflow in the platform. And they can obviously use this option to create an RFI to then reference it to something in cost in the future. So they say, okay, they request an RFI and the paint or something's damaged and they need to replace it. It's not available anymore, whatever the case is. They can come into here and create the RFI. Once the RFI is answered, they can turn that RFI into either a subcontract, a potential variation, even request for quotes as well if you needed to. So you have a lot of flexibilities and options for you to come in and link anything within the platform to a cost management item within the tool itself. So that's another event where I can come into here, say like fixture 1, create that potential variation. It's gone ahead and create it as a draft. You can see there was one previously. And once I come into the platform, I go into this variations tab, which again, I can set as open. And now I have the budget change. That's for the upstream. and I can also have a downstream request sent through as well. So I can then request a quote from a subcontractor if I needed to. And also I can also generate a variation request for the owner as well. So I can say, hey, owner, obviously we'll cover this and we don't have enough time to cover it, but then that will then come into here. You request a quote from a supplier or contractor. We can obviously get information of what you estimate the cost to be and then what the actual supplier provided. And you can see that variation request will be listed here as either executed and approved, or the information will be logged here, reference to the RFI. And you can see that the owner variation upstream and the subcontractor variation downstream is all linked in the platform, as everything in the cost items in detail as well, which will show you the related variations and the cost summary of what you proposed, what was submitted, what got approved, and what's been committed as well. And on the last minute, we also have the ability for us to create a forecasting and distribute your forecast to then calculate your cash flow and get a nice bar chart showing you your cash flow within the platform, which allows you to actually come into here, view your projected budgets, your work completed, your actual costs, and your final forecast costs as well.